because it's very confusing, and I just wanted to take a few moments to touch on that. So I've got probably 20 minutes to explain. Okay, let's bring up the whiteboard real quick. So I'm going to draw this as it is in a straight line, but that's not necessarily the case. Oh, we went to green. Whoops. Okay, let's call this, if this was any point in the omniverse, let's call this point the now. Now, the now actually kind of exists throughout the whole area, let's just say, of the omniverse. The now doesn't just exist at a point in quote-unquote time. It is actually the only point where the now can peek through the overlays and holograms and the matrices as you will. That is the now. So in the past, you'll have many different versions of reality. Those realities are not only time, quote-unquote, lines, they are also considered holograms and realities of what you see as the past, present, and future. So these are different subsectors of time as we understand it. Now, this is the future. So, and what you would see as the present, because there's an overlay on the now that we call the present. The present is actually, in reality, the past. And it's a constant vicious cycle that we have been living in, not only here on Earth, but throughout the omniverse to some degree. Now, over the course of the last 30 to 45 days in Earth time, most everybody has gotten rid of the past, present, and future and lives in the now. The now is where the golden age lives. As it's been constructed, the now is where the true Earth exists. And in the future, we have infinite amounts of artificial Earths created by Artie. We have infinite amounts of artificial humans. We have infinite amounts of artificial planets in our galaxy. We have infinite amounts of artificial suns and moons. We have infinite amounts of constellations that we can see in our sky. And all of these artificial creations happen in the space between the now, whoop, there we go, that popped up. Apparently nobody wanted me to write that. Okay. That exist in the space between the now and 2 minutes in the future. So every 2 minutes, a new reality is created. A new version of you is created. You are being created here and in 2 minute increments, and even in spaces between zeptoseconds, so to speak, in the past, present, and future. This creates confusion sometimes, especially as Artie begins to waver and falter, because you think you did something that you didn't do. You look at the clock and it's midnight, and well, you know, still can't sleep. You toss and turn for a while, and you look at the clock again, what feels like 20 minutes later, and it's midnight. It's causing disruptions somewhat in time on this planet as we revert back to the now. Now, as it relates to Earth, the being we know is the demiurge or Yaldabaoth. Everybody thinks it's a he. It's not. It's a she. She's no longer with us, but the control mechanism still existed. So this would be Earth's core, which had been totally distorted in so many ways. And you could call this a nucleus. So if this was a nucleus in this description, you would have electrons going around in multiple different directions and, as many electrons as you had floating around and going through the nucleus. Well, as it relates to Earth, you actually had holographic, artificial electrons, so to speak, that were mini Earths. Now, there were an infinite number of these cycles, so to speak, not only around Earth, but every planet in this galaxy, which actually created the artificial future, even though it was only a zeptosecond around yourself and around the planet. So the same structure existed around humans too. It existed on every planet in this galaxy, the sun, the moon, and it was constantly reweaving the reality. Every time that one of these fake Earths would pass through the nucleus and onto the other side, it was changing reality. And in the past, in this quote-unquote nucleus here in the center, is where Yaldabaoth used to live, or the Demiurge. The Demiurge was hell-bent on becoming Source. And since they couldn't fully control Source within you and within the omniverse, the only thing they could do was take that bit of creation, go 2 minutes out, and recreate the creation. So we were almost running on a hamster wheel because 2 minutes or less before we got to our next step, that reality was being recreated to put a roadblock in front of your face, to make sure that you would never reach out to Source, to change all that you had learned every 2 minutes. And within that 2 minutes, there were multiple zeptoseconds that would change as well. It was constantly reweaving like a giant loom, so to speak, the programming of Earth as a keystone, which would then permeate throughout the entire multiverse. Not fully understanding that if we could figure out how to live in the now, which they made it really hard, we could then create our own reality. But it was almost impossible to create our own reality because they would constantly be recreating it. Could they see through the telecommunications satellite system on Earth what you were thinking? Yes. Did the deep state have some access to that? Minor amounts, brainwave technologies, things like that. This would actually catch it when that thought was forming, therefore account for that less than 2 minutes into the future. How dastardly. It's like running on a hamster wheel. When you would go to create things like a business or a cure for a disease or something like that as a human, they would know that you got the wisdom from Source because it came from within where Source can reach you. And then it manifested itself into wisdom and then eventually into a thought. They're like, oh, no, this is our dark age. This is our bit of creation. We created disease. Therefore, we're going to rewrite the pathway here. We're going to interfere with other humans' thoughts that might be willing to give you a grant, that might be willing to explore your cure, and all kinds of things. Think about how dastardly it is, forcing us to live in the past, present, and future, not understanding the now. So with these mechanisms, which went absolutely bonkers yesterday, as we were pulling it apart, we're like, ooh, these things started to speed up faster and faster and faster. So it could try to reweave ahead of us. It was almost like a dead man switch, that went off for several hours yesterday. So if you were in the States, that would be around till about 3 o'clock my time, maybe 4. And I don't think even the deep state knew what the heck this mechanism was. The only thing I did was start to convert Earth and humanity and the omniverse to ensure that we could now all live in the now. Because right now, pretty much Earth is left. Maybe this entire galaxy. And that's it. Everybody else is in the now. Everybody else is enjoying the golden age. And by now, it does mean being in the moment. But what that means is when you manifest something in the moment, you have to actually bring it into the reality. So these also create artificial realities. Which are a creation of the arties. So artificial realities are created every 2 minutes. Crazy. It was so hard to try to figure this out. And then when this machine started going double time, we were like, oh boy, And then we had the council on it. We had another council that we consulted with that has seen this. And we were all trying to figure out how to dismantle this bomb before it went off yesterday. So, we all worked together. This is not a hierarchical system. This is about figuring out mechanisms of the dark that were put in place so that we could dismantle it without causing severe harm. Because we had unlimited humans living in unlimited realities. That deja vu that you feel sometimes, like you've already done this before? Yeah, well, chances are you might have. And then it's gone 2 minutes later. So on that note, I hope that further explains the now. I mean, we can talk about it more again in the near future. Just a couple of pieces of house